So we are recording this on Tuesday morning. The deadline day dust is just starting to settle. It was a busy one, not just for Arsenal, but for so many clubs in the Premier League and abroad. Obviously, we are here to talk about Arsenal's transfer dealings. So looking at their window as a whole, I think yes, close to 250 million spent, close to 300 if Hincapié signs permanently, although of course that will be next year, not this year, and only about 10 million pounds through player sales. Same old story there, really. I think they had the highest net spend of any Premier League club, but they did reinforce positions that they needed to reinforce. So first of all, just want to get your overall assessment of Arsenal's summer transfer window.
Think it's been a brilliant window. I really, really do. Take sales, park that to one side at the moment. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But in terms of what they've done to the squad, I think it's been a brilliant window. I think they have attacked it with real intent. They have shown a lot of ambition. They have raised the floor of the squad to a level that I have frankly never seen before. This is the strongest Arsenal squad I've ever seen in my life, and I've been an Arsenal fan for, well, 40 odd years now, and have been a season ticket holder since the early 90s. And I've seen some of the greatest Arsenal teams that have ever been in existence, and I've never seen a stronger squad than what they have now. I've seen stronger teams, stronger starting 11s, but I've never seen a stronger squad. You go back to the Invincibles, and players like Pascal Sigan was playing 20, 30 games. No slant against Sigan, he played a really key role in that season. But you look at what they've got now and the quality of players they've got now in every single position, the number that they've got, it's a remarkable squad. So I think it's been a great window. It's far exceeded my expectations. Um, they've signed the striker that we wanted them to do that. I think a lot of fans will look at it and think we didn't sign the left winger, and that's going to be the one sort of disappointment. But then I look at what they've done, and it's like, well, arguably they've signed two. To be honest, we don't know yet. We're going to have to wait at the end of the season and really judge what they've done in terms of improving that left-hand side. But I absolutely think that Eze is going to be a left-sided player for Arsenal. Madueke is going to play an awful lot on the left-hand side for Arsenal, and they might go on and have brilliant seasons over there. So it's always hard to assess the window immediately after. You always get people, oh, so and so won the transfer window. I remember when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale and they signed those seven players straight afterwards. Everyone was hailing it as a great success and they're a stronger squad than ever. And obviously that proved to be absolute rubbish. So it's hard. You have to assess it really at the end of the window. But I look at what Arsenal have done, and they've given themselves every single chance to have a really strong season. I mean, Arteta will be looking at his squad this morning and be like, my God, look at how many good players there are around me. So I think it's been a fabulous window for Arsenal. I really, really do.
Yeah, Andre Berta did a lot of good in his first summer. Came in, hit the ground running, got so many, not just the dealings, but some key contracts as well. Got those sorted. Touching on your point there about you think this is the strongest Arsenal squad you've seen in your life, or in since you've been supporting the Gunners. Do they then have no excuse not to win the Premier League title?
No, absolutely. They do. They have every excuse, and that excuse is that Liverpool are the best team in the country, and they've spent nearly £500 million in this transfer win, including they're the best attacking side in the country, and they've just signed, in my view, the best attacker in the country as well. So I don't buy into that at all. It was going to be really hard for Arsenal to win the league anyway, and no matter what they did, because Liverpool won it at a canter last season. They were the best team by a distance, and they've improved massively. So. No, it's an easy thing to say, I think that, and I hear it said a lot, but I just don't buy into it at all. They've given themselves a chance, but this is a Premier League we're talking about. This is the best league in the world, with the best teams in the world, with the best players in the world, and I still think Liverpool are favourites going into the season, and they've just gone and signed Alexander Isak now just to be the sort of cherry on the cake of an already impressive window. So. No, I don't buy into that. Arsenal got no excuse. They've got. It's not even an excuse. I don't like that word. They've got a reason. If Arsenal don't win it and Liverpool do, then there's absolutely reasons for that. I hope Arsenal win it. I think they can win it. I'm not waving a white flag, but Liverpool are still understandably the favourites for the title.
You think Liverpool's spending, it topped 400 million. They spent, a good 150 million more than Arsenal, but at the same time, they raised nearly 200 million more than Arsenal just because they are such a good selling club, like Chelsea as well. Arsenal, I think they had the third highest spending behind Liverpool and Chelsea, but much higher net spend because yeah, the only sales were Nuno Tavares, Albert Sambi Lokonga, and Marquinhos to Cruzeiro, which in total, I think there's a bit of confusion about the Lokonga fee. I've seen some reports saying 2.5 million, some are saying 10 million, but either way, it's, the total income from player sales is still, between 10 and 20 million. And this is
Definitely
an
wasn't
area.
10 million. Definitely wasn't 10 million for Sammy
Okay,
Lukaku.
that's good to know. Okay, so we can be a bit more negative then. Fantastic. Yeah, but as we've said so many times, player sales with Arsenal, it's always been a sticking point for them, and it's not improved. If what we've seen this summer is any evidence to go by, are there any lessons that Arsenal can take from seeing Liverpool and Chelsea get really good fees for those players, or is a lot of it just down? I mean, could we say that the fact that Arteta loses trust in the players, just doesn't play them, that really reduces their value, whereas other clubs might, just bring them on, play them more? Or is it just down to the players who are available?
It's hard because it's not just it's a problem that's been going on so long for Arsenal, and I think reputation plays a big part in it. I think people still view Arsenal as bad sellers, understandably, because they are, and clubs will try and take advantage of that when they enter into negotiations with Arsenal. I think timing works is a key thing as well. You know, when Arsenal have sold well in the past, timing has been really key to that. Like they made a really good loan for Balogun, for example, to Monaco. He goes and does brilliantly. They got good money for him. You know, last summer the timing was right for Nketiah for Smith Rowe, and they sold really well. This summer, the players who are always going to go, everyone knew they weren't really part of the squad. They're all players who are serially injured as well, which makes it very hard to sell players. So I think it was always going to be a hard summer to bring in big money. I think that the Kivior deal is not a good one from an Arsenal point of view. I think you look at the number they got there and think they should have got more for him. They really should have done. You look at and you wonder, if the roles are reversed and he was a Liverpool player or a Chelsea player, I just don't see any way they don't get more money for him than Arsenal do. So that's where they've got to change. That when they've got sellable assets like they did in Kivior, that's where they need to learn lessons and improve. And I think they will. I think next summer, when Arsenal make sales, and I'm sure they're going to have to make some pretty significant sales over the next few windows, considering what's gone on in this window. You look at the squad that they have now, and as long as, like you said, Arteta trusts them and plays them, which I think he will, anyone who goes from this point onwards is going to be a top tier player, really, I think, who's going to play a fair amount in this Arsenal squad. So anyone who's going to buy them are going to have to pay a decent chunk of money for them. So I would hope, from an Arsenal point of view and a business point of view, that this is the final summer that we sort of have this conversation about them being bad sellers. Because I sort of look to the future, and I do think, given the quality of this squad now, that it's going to take big money to get these players out the door. For clubs to take some of these players out the door if they want them, and I think clubs will want these players. And I'm not sure that's always been the case when it's been an Arsenal squad.
There's also the argument that Arsenal are a bit too nice to the players in a way. Like if, say, the likes of Lokonga and Vieira, they know the club know they've got no future under Arteta. The club wants to get them out as soon as possible. The player wants out as soon as possible. They think, okay, a nominal fee is acceptable because we understand your desire to play. Are they just a bit, too nice in that regard?
Maybe, maybe. I mean, but who else is going to be signed if you're not going to get big money for Stanley Conker? It's just not going to happen. It's just not. He's had three loan spells, and all of those he's been injured for most of the time. And when he has played, he's not exactly pulled up any trees. So who's going to spend money to sign Sammy Lokonga? I think Arsenal are always in a really difficult bargaining position for him. Zinchenko had a year left in his contract, wasn't part of the squad, and is on big money. Who's going to pay big money to get him out? It was always going to be a difficult one to do. I thought Vieira was a sellable player, and I'm a bit disappointed they've not managed to get some money for him. He's not on massive wages. He's still young. He's clearly a talented player. That he feels like a player you could be selling for not massive. You're not going to get your money back on him, of course you're not, but you could still get a bit of a deal done for him. And I know they've got an option with Hamburg, but that's an option that just screams to me that's not being taken up next summer the money. I think it's over 20 million euros. I just don't see a way that Hamburg do that. So I'm pretty sure Arsenal are going to be back in the same situation with Vieira that they were this this summer. So. Are they too nice? I don't know. I mean, people look at Arteta and say he's not too nice because he leaves them out in the cold too much. So It's tough to really label them as too nice, I think. But there's definitely lessons going to be learned. I think Berta probably gets a bit of a pass this summer for selling. I don't think he will next summer, and I don't think he'll be able to be given a pass definitely by the owners next summer because of the sheer amount of investment they've put into. They're going to need to recoup some money. So I think we're going to see some significant sales next summer. I think we'll see at least one big Arsenal player go for fairly big money next summer. I really do.
If I had to put you on the spot right now and say who do you think that player could be, who would you say?
I mean, everyone at the moment is pointing to Martinelli, aren't they? I suppose that, he struggled. He was really poor against Liverpool. He just looks a player bereft of belief and confidence. But the thing is with Martinelli that if you want to get big money for Martinelli next summer, he needs to have a pretty good season this season. You don't want him to have a poor season. Um, so I, I think I think you probably are looking at Martinelli for me. He's the one that I would say right now if you put me on the spot. I think a lot depends on William Saliba's contract talks as well. If Saliba doesn't sign a new contract this summer, I think they sell him next year. I just don't see a way that they go into they risk losing him on a free, and I think there'll clearly be a market for Saliba next summer as long as he doesn't just play the Madrid game and hold on and leave on a free the following year. So I think a lot depends on that. So he'll be a contender if he doesn't sign a new contract. But I think right now Martinelli's certainly the one that really sort of stands out as a potential big money sale next summer.
Yeah, I think a lot of Gooners would agree with you there. Okay, brilliant. So we've talked a lot about the negatives with the sales. We can talk about the one incoming that happened yesterday, the Piero Hincapié signing. We spoke about him quite a bit last week, what he'll bring to the team. And so it's a loan with an option, I think, or like more like an obligation, which is expected to go through. And he is basically in a very loose or very simple sense, he is the Kivior replacement, but you'd expect he get more game time than Kivior, given the quality he's got, the experience that he's got. Do you think this signing is a lot of Arsenal learning lessons from the Gabriel injury last season? Do you think there'll be a lot of rotation between him and Hincapié in that left centre back spot?
Yeah, I hope. Well, I hope so. I really hope so because there was always one of Saliba or Gabriel playing, even in those cup games. You go to Preston in the League Cup, and one of those two would be on the team sheet, and you just be like, "Oh God, don't get an injury." So with what they've got now, they've got so much strength and depth that, yeah, I think so. The thing with Hincapié, and like you said, I know this is down as an option, but it is an obligation. It is a permanent signing. He'll be an Arsenal player for the next 5 years. Um, that he doesn't really speak a word of English by all accounts. So I think his adaptation period is going to be a little bit longer than maybe some of the other signings. So he will be eased into the picture a little bit more, I would say. But the quality that he's got from speaking to people who have watched an awful lot more of him than I have is, I think it won't be long before we see him making a real impact in his team. Whether that be a left centre back or left back, we'll have to wait and see on it. But I think he will definitely be Gabriel's main cover, and I think we'll see him play an awful lot of football. I think Arsenal really like what he can bring to this squad. They really believe he's going to add something a little bit different to it from a defensive point of view. They see him as really experienced but young as well, versatile. They're very, very happy with his signing, and he has been on the recruitment team's um, sort of target list for a while as well. I don't think it's one that's just suddenly materialised this summer, and I think they're very, very happy to get this one done and over the line.